It's TEDA time.
Living in Terrebonne, living in Terrebonne. You sure won't want to miss it, and I'll bet that you'll revisit living in Terrebonne.
Local Terrebonne Parish Economic News.
Hello and welcome to this edition of TEDA Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And very glad that our whole panel just got so much better looking than it normally is on TEDA Time. We miss Cohen as always, but we'll take this panel any day. As we welcome to the program, back to the program, Catherine Gilbert. Terrio, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having us today.
All right. Of course, Director of Business Retention and Expansion with TEDA. Sitting next to her, Ms. Laura Fungi. Laura, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Laura is with the Louisiana Workforce Commission. Glad that you're here. Sitting next to her, Ms. Sherry Wilmore. Hi, Sherry with Goodwill.
Hey, everyone. How you doing, Keith?
Doing very well. And welcome back to the program as well, Hester Serrano. Hester, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us, Keith.
All right. Appreciate it. Of course, Hester as well, you can see with the Division of Parole, and we appreciate that. So, Kathy, one of these things, TEDA partners with people all over. Y'all got always lots of programs that are going on. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today.
Well, today we wanted to talk about opportunities and partnerships that take us across the spectrum. And today, when we're out talking with companies, we hear a lot about what we call employment gap. There's a lot of jobs, but employers are having a little trouble finding the talented skills that it need, or folks who are able to just come in and fill those positions they have.
Right.
That's why today's highlight, this Second Chance initiative launched by Goodwill Industries, is such an important part of the community structure, because it really helps to reach kind of an untapped resource in the community. Right. And I want to go ahead and turn it over to our friend Laura to talk about that skills gap or that unemployment gap in the community.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that, Laura.
Yeah, so currently the unemployment rate for our region is 3.6%, which is considered actually low when you're looking at historical records on the unemployment rate. However, when you look at that more in numbers, we have 1,890 job openings. And for that, we have about 4 unemployed candidates available per job to fill. However, that's not happening. That percentage is not changing. So it makes it more challenging, of course, for employers and the community to thrive more. And so I wanted to make sure that I went through our services and ways that the community can access our services. So one of them is by utilizing our website, which is louisianaworks.net. And from there, you can find Hire. Hire is a lot similar to some platforms like Indeed. However, because it's government managed, you don't get any risk of spam or phishing or anything like that. Everything is legit, like sourced from the employers to our platform and our website. So
better protected.
Very much so. And the employers utilize it to post their jobs manually. Some of them even connect by their own platforms, and it automatically connects to their system so that the jobs automatically go into Hire and post so that it alerts the job seekers.
Wow.
So also with those services, you can have a virtual recruiter option. So that's for employers and job seekers that can go and access into the system and have it search for job openings for them. You also can do qualifiable candidate searches as an employer. And as a job seeker, you can also obviously use it as a job search or even career searches if you're looking into a new career. Employers can also use it for an applicant review. So the job seekers can also access Hire just by Googling Hire, going on to laworks.net. But we also, when we organize events like we have coming up soon, we put the QR code there so that everyone can go on there and utilize that.
Nice.
So in addition to utilizing Hire, we also have other services that are available for employers and job seekers as far as grant funding. So if they need additional education or training, the employer say an employer wants to hire someone, but they need the additional education and training, we have funding that will help cover those costs. We also help with wage and reimbursement. So if an individual needs to be trained on the job with the employer, we can help reimburse the wages as they're getting trained to help that employer incentivize to hire that individual.
Because a lot of times that's the difficulty. You got to pay somebody to train them before they're ready to do their job, and sometimes it's difficult to pay them what you would normally want to pay for them to fill that job.
Exactly. And so that helps really bridge the gap when we're looking at possibly some of these individuals that can't gain employment because they've got that barrier of finding education and training accessible to them, or maybe they just don't have the funding available to them. We do have those services at Louisiana Workforce Commission to offer them.
Yeah, and listen, I know that I love the fact that we have these options, that it's someplace they can go to and they can find that, and they don't have to worry about, people stealing their identity or people getting their information or gathering that. And then being able to work with some of these other availabilities, so through Goodwill, through probation and parole, making sure that we can give people that second chance and that option for them to be able to go into the workforce and, bring that unemployment rate down to 2. Bring it down to 1.5 so we can make a difference. So we're going to talk about all those things and a whole lot more when we come back. And so, ladies, thank you so much for joining us today and being able to share what y'all are doing in those partnerships. It's very much appreciated. So we take a quick break. We'll come right back. All right. We're going to do that. You take that break with us. We'll be right back here on TEDA Time, right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology, and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it very much. And we were talking a little bit about how it is that we can help with this unemployment rate. How do we help people with second chances? How do we make a difference for the people that need employment and really want it, but maybe are some roadblocks to getting there? And so we welcome back Kathy and Laura and Sherry and Hester, talking about some of these options. And Sherry, I know that we've talked a little bit about some of the things that y'all do over with Goodwill Industries, but y'all are finding ways to help people with this reentry program. Tell us a little bit about how y'all do that and how y'all partner with TEDA.
Sure. So Goodwill is a partner with Department of Corrections, which is DOC. And what we are tasked to do is help persons when they are released from incarceration, or have they been out of incarceration for some time and have something on their background. And our job is to help skill them for the workforce. Okay. And so with that, we have case managers who we are assigned to. We have a career specialist who goes and find those second chance employers. And so what my role is to create those work groups. So we used to call them subcommittees, but we changed it to work groups because we wanted to make action items out of the work that we do. Okay. And one of the work groups that we have is our employment and training work group. And that is where you see the persons who are on this panel today. That's what we work on. And so we work on help finding those avenues for that untapped talent. That's what we call our reentry population. It's an untapped talent and sometimes an unutilized talent that can help fill those gaps in those unemployment. But along the way, they may need some skills and some training. And so one of the things that we're doing in the work group is we are creating an employer forum. And that is something that's going to happen in April. It's going to be April 18th at Fletcher Community College, Fletcher Technical Community College at the Schriever campus. Okay. And it's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And we'll speak about it more, but one of those things that we're going to do is reach out to the employers to see the gaps that they need so that we can address those areas of concern with the population that we work with. Because when people are employed, we reduce recidivism. And that is where Hester comes in at work. We're working with probation and parole. And some people everyone have not gone through the reentry process or have been through a reentry facility such as a LPCC. Or
Right.
for some people who don't know, that's a full parish correctional complex. But people are released into our society every day, and so Goodwill finds a way of gathering all those persons so that we can help better train them for the workforce.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that. And Hester, one of those things is y'all are looking for ways as soon as y'all are looking for ways all the time through their incarceration, when they're getting ready for probation, when they're getting ready for parole, in ways to join. And we've got a grant that's going to be helping as well. Right?
Well, the grant, the funding that you're speaking of has been here for years now, but we're
Right.
finding ways to continue to expand it, utilize it, partner with different agencies within the community so that we can even have a further reach. So with the Department of Corrections, what we look at is, like Sherry mentioned, reducing that recidivism, increasing public safety, and bringing people back into the workforce that are justice involved, whether on probation or parole, with what they need to succeed.
Okay.
So we work as a team, and everyone you're going to see here today on TEDA Time is they're part of this team. You know, we work as a team in order to look into what those challenges and barriers are for those returning, or for those coming back into the workforce with any type of justice involvement. We look at those barriers. We see what they are. We start addressing those barriers at first touch, whether it's, like she mentioned, with Lafourche Parish Correctional Center, which is the Department of Corrections Regional Reentry Center, when they first come in, assessing what they need in the way of industrial-based certifications, education, whether it's HISET or higher level education. We start looking at what they may need to make them more employable for those employers like Laura and Catherine were talking about, what our community needs. And we take that knowledge and we start working through those barriers and challenges. And one of those would be this event that Sherry just mentioned, our Employer Engagement Forum, where we seek to find those employers, local employers, bring them into the same room and start educating on them the benefits of looking into hiring this particular workforce, that untapped talent, whether it's the benefits to the community, the benefits to the employer themselves, which Laura mentioned some of that, those tax incentives, the training opportunities where workforce will help pay for some of that, or benefits to the individual, of course, where they can start supporting their families and such, and reduces their likelihood of recidivism, reduces the victims within our community, to keep them, because we've kept them from going back to what originally put them maybe, incarcerated.
Right.
So it benefits so many different aspects. Right. So this particular event that we're talking about, that Employer Engagement Forum at Fletcher, is the introductory event to 2 other events the following week, where my office is partnering with Louisiana Workforce Commission to bring a career and resource fair to Houma on April 23rd and to Thibodeau on April 25th, where we can actually give back to those employers, giving them the opportunity to come in, recruit and those individuals if they're second chance employers. And I know we may want to come back on later and talk about that, but that's absolutely 100% open to the public, because reentry is both, it's not only reactive, it's also proactive.
Sure. Yeah, and that's one of those things. Is why I mentioned, because y'all start looking at the options for that.
Yes.
What are the roadblocks right now? How do we start initiating some things right now to make it easier for when they are coming out? And it's time for them to get into the workforce. And we're finding a way to empower them to move beyond what they were, to become what they can be, themselves, their families. And you guys have programs for that.
We do.
Which is just so exciting. And being able to use that grant money for that and partnering with that. So April 18th, and you've got one on April 23rd and April 25th. Very good. Awesome. Well, ladies, we're taking another break. We thank you for joining us here on TEDA Time, but we want you to come back as well. A whole lot more right here on TEDA Time on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of TEDA Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissack. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, we have Hester and Sherry and Kathy, and now joining us here is Caitlin Agan, HR representative for Bollinger Shipyards. Really glad that you're here.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it. All right, and so Hester, one of the things we're talking about is really kind of looking at some of these deficits, right? And some of the things that maybe people need more learning on. But y'all look at this based on what their opportunities are and maybe some of the skills that these people have that we can really develop.
No, absolutely. So we will look at some of the skills that either they already have, or in the event that they don't have skills, DOC has funding within their that we can utilize to develop some skills within our DOC facilities, our regional reentry centers, as well as partnered with the different transitional work programs. We have two local, one in Lafourche and one in Terrebonne Parish.
Okay.
With that being said, we can take some of those, like say welding courses, where we can start introducing that while they're incarcerated through some of our partnerships, if through Goodwill with one of their grants, or with the department's funding itself, which allows us to better prepare them, like we talked about earlier, for returning. And then it allows us to also partner with, and I know you've already introduced Caitlin, but it allows us to partner with companies like Bollinger, who are looking for those welders that we were able to start their training while incarcerated, because we know that is what our partnership companies need.
Right.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Caitlin to tell you a little bit more about what they offer, because it's been phenomenal for those that were returning, working with our day reporting center, working with Goodwill. So
Right.
she can tell you a little bit more about that.
And so, Caitlin, it's one of those things where, we need welders, right?
Absolutely is one of our highest needs right now, as well as fitters, ship fitters, outfitters, anybody who's in the craft trades. We have a lot of work ahead of us, as well as years of work to go ahead of us right now. And so definitely long-term work, very limited on layoff. That's not going to be a thing I can see in the foreseeable future whatsoever.
And so, again, one of the things, and we talked about it from the start of the show, is how do we reduce that unemployment rate? Well, we reduce that unemployment rate by these fantastic partnerships. As Hester mentioned, really being proactive and seeing what the need is and seeing where people's skills are and or training them. And then they come right out as a program ready for you.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that we very much invest ourselves in with the community as well as our partners. We do our training programs for sure with our welding program, where we bring them in. It's earn while you learn. So that is a big obstacle for a lot of people is, okay, do I go to school and not work, or do I work and not go to school? This gives them the option to make money while they are learning. Wow. They make a full paycheck while they are going to school, learning the basic fundamentals to get in to our facilities, to have the fundamentals to become a welder, and then the sky's the limit from there for them.
And so it's really interesting, kind of just to recap, we've got somebody who's made a mistake. They've been incarcerated for whatever reason. And now we have some programs where people are looking at what your options are and really plugging you in to what you can do. Let's talk a little bit about what happens on your end from the Bollinger standpoint, about what you need to do to get ready for these people coming into your program.
Anybody, like Ms. Hester was saying, that has a background or a skill, as well as Ms. Sherry, anybody who has a background that has some type of skill are more than welcome to be considered for a position with Bollinger Shipyards. We do on-job training, in-house training. We do internships. We have, the sky's the limit with Bollinger Shipyards. We try to promote within, therefore giving the opportunity for people to grow within a company, a family-owned company that invests in our community very much so.
Okay, very good. And Kathy, let's talk about that starting point. Right?
Yeah, being able to get into a company like this is a great place, a great entry opportunity. The other opportunity we're here to showcase, though, is getting involved in this employer showcase, this employer summit, and the following job fairs. So I'm going to let Sherry tell us how employers can really put their name down, get in the hat to work with this.
Yeah, sure.
So, thank you for that, Catherine. So if you're an employer or you would like to hire someone who, the second chance, you want to learn more about how that partnership benefits your company, because at the end of the day, we understand business and the business needs.
Right.
You can contact me. My email at swilmore, that's WILMORE at goodwill.org. We have our office in Houma.
Okay.
It is Suite 108. So where the thrift store is at, what most people know on Martin Luther King, we have a corporate office that's in the back next to the UPS. And so we'll be putting out flyers and information as well. You can call me. And so we will be, so you can register yourself for your business for this opportunity, because we would like to have more employers at the forefront, so we can meet the needs. So it's not just about the reentry population, but holistic partnership that benefits everyone and makes the community well overall.
Right. And again, that's the on April 18th, right?
April 18th, yes.
Yeah.
So, and it's going to be at Fletcher. So even if you forget to email me or you don't see the flyer, but you see this interview and you would like to still show up that day, please show up that day, because it is open to you. You don't necessarily have to register. So if you, we would like you to register, but if you don't register, we still will want you to come.
Wow. Very nice.
And any employers who can't remember Sherry's email address or phone number, or you're welcome to contact TEDA, and we will get you the information and hook you up with Sherry and Goodwill to participate in this really fantastic opportunity.
Yeah. Let's tell them where they can reach you at TEDA.
At TEDA, we're at 873-6890. I'm Catherine Terrio, and we welcome calls from employers.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, ladies, thank you so very much, not only for coming here today, but for being that ray of hope for people that maybe didn't think they had one. And that's such a big deal. So thank y'all for what you do for our community and for making us a better place.
Thank you.
All right. And that will do it for this edition of TEDA Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming right here on HTV.